Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Tuesday, so you know what day it is. It's time for It's Nothing Personal. It's just Bill's host. I am your host, JTM. As you can tell, I'm a little bit under the weather tonight, but I'm still here. I'm still here. We're gonna have a good show. Let's see who we got in the locker room tonight. Got my man EJ Daniels,
Yes, sir.
Trey Hate, Trey
Oh,
Hate.
don't do
Got any
that.
Trey
Don't do
Hate
that.
today, man?
No, you. He played a very solid game. He didn't lock Terry up, but Terry, like y'all said, he didn't make an impact. And I will give Trey White a tick on that one. He did
Okay.
what he's supposed to do.
All right, got my man NFL pedigree, like to call him James Mallory, former NFL running back. What's going on, James?
What's up? What's up, everybody? Thanks for having me again. Let's get it.
All right, and last but not least, I got the nice guy of the group, Evan Zinger, nicest guy you ever meet. But we're gonna bring some anger out of him today. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna
Yeah.
really try.
I absolutely love how you fully like enunciate my last name. I think you're the only person I've seen do that. Say Zinger.
What is it?
No. It is Zinger, but
Oh.
but people are like Zinger, but you're like Zinger.
Yeah, I like the
Yeah.
Zinger. Zinger. Back in the day, I was a kid. I used to watch the show Zorro, the Z. I mean, I think we were make some merchandise for you, like a Z, like the Zorro thing. So, guys, the Bills, obviously, they beat up on Washington. They were still really angry, I think, from that week one loss. And as we talked about, they did what good teams do. And that's what I want to make. I want to make sure people are understanding of this. When good teams lose games, they feel that they shouldn't have lost. They're just not upset just for the next game. They're usually upset for the next couple. And I feel bad for Houston coming up this week as well. But we're gonna break down just a little bit of that. We're not gonna stay too long. We got a couple topics, and I do want to talk about Steve Tasker in the Hall of Fame this week, because if you guys remember, they released a list this week about potential Bills going to the Hall of Fame. Ruben Brown, Cornelius Bennett, some of the other names were on there. Evan, I know we were talking about that in the chat, so I want to talk to you on that today. I also want to talk to you on Coach Sean McDermott was not very happy necessarily with the defensive line. I think it got a couple of scratching our heads. Now, James, in past weeks, you've been right on the money with saying who was going to be deactivated. So I'm gonna get your take on that. But and don't forget, we still got at the 20 minutes in the mark, we're gonna have everybody's favorite segment, bad takes. And we got a couple of good ones today. It's not bad. If you're not familiar with bad takes, is where I go around, look on the Bills pages, I go to different pages, and I find the absolutely worst takes from fans that I can find, and we put them on the show. We don't put any names though. We don't put any names out there. I want you guys to bully them. Bills Mafia is a powerful thing. So let's see who's in the chat today. James Bilak, what's going on? Nadine, nice to see you. Our guy Mud Dog, Cody Wells, always with us. Our guy Mike Backbone on YouTube. Tasker, the well-deserved Nadine. What are we gonna see? Hey, man, I agree with OJT's opinion tonight. That's okay. Still love you anyway. And my man James Bilak, hat is fire. I appreciate it, my guy. I appreciate it. Facebook is a hell of a thing when they let you when they read your mind and pop stuff that you want to buy somehow. Got me to watch though. But so, guys, this game Buffalo beat up on Washington. I think we all said that. Well, me and EJ and James on the show last week, we said they were going to beat them up pretty good, and they did. So, James, we'll get your take on the running game. Since that's your thing, man.
I love what I seen out of the running game. They mixed it up perfect. I know people have been a little tough on Dable about him not running the ball enough and, not being creative enough in the run game. I think he played to our running back strengths on Sunday, and they both had some success. I mean, I think Zach Moss obviously had the better day, but I mean, if both of those guys can be a weapon like they were on Sunday, on Sunday, oh, man, that creates a dangerous offense. I mean, look at how the passing game flourished. There's no accident the passing game really took off when the running game was successful. They work hand in hand. So, man, I just love the way the running backs were taking what the defense was giving them. Taking 3 yards when it's there, 5 yards is a lot different when you call in a play 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 7. That's a big difference. People may not look at 3-yard runs like that. It's a big deal on the offense. So, man, I love the run game. I give it a B+, A-.
All right. Let me ask you a question. Why we got you here? Because a lot of people keep saying Singletary has a good game and it's Singletary's RB1. Then Moss has a good game and they're like, Zach Moss is RB1. Is there really an RB1 regardless? I mean, you're a running back. You can tell about that room. Is there really an RB1?
Yeah, to me, yeah. I think it's clearly Singletary. I mean, just look at even with Dallas. You look at they got a 2-man combo. Even though Ezekiel Elliott may not have the best game sometimes, but he's clearly running back number one. Even though he may not have the most yards every single game, he's RB1. And for me, Devin Singletary is RB1. So I think that's how you got to play it. And then Zach Moss compliments him. You bring him in to kind of piggyback things. If he's a hot hand that day, you roll with it. But Singletary's your guy.
Well, I mean, back to the Zeke, one running back makes $500K, one running back is like 90 million. that helps. That helps you choose an RB1
That's
too.
true, but I don't think they would hesitate to roll with somebody else if he's just that much better. To be honest,
right. Unless you're just the Bears and you like to sit some quarterback on a bench is making like 15 million and deactivate him every week. But who knows? I mean, that's your guy Matt Nagy over there doing stuff like that. EJ.
That's my guy. That's my guy.
No, what'd you think of the offense, man? What you want to touch on? What part of the offense you want to touch on?
This was the first game. I was saying when I was watching the game back, this was the first game where the Buffalo actually had some balance and legitimate balance. Not just a run here or run there or let's run it efficiently and none of that garbage. They actually ran the ball. They had 30 rush attempts, 17 zone, 7 gap, and a couple other type of runs. But that's what I want to see from the Bills. And then, as Jane mentioned, then you see how much better, how much more smooth that the passing game looked. These chunk plays that they're constantly getting. There was not a thing that Washington could do with the Buffalo offense. And for all intensive purposes, Washington is supposed to be one of the better defenses in the NFL. And therefore, when you achieve this type of balance, you can see with the defense playing the way it is, you see that Buffalo can literally be unstoppable on both sides of the ball. And if they put together performances like this against the better teams consistently, we could be talking about Buffalo legitimately going to the Super Bowl this year.
Well, Evan, I'm gonna get your take on that, but Washington defense is not as good as people think. They have good players, but they're young.
The defensive line is probably top 3, but I would agree. The back end and then the linebackers, they are trash. I don't understand where this best defense in the NFL comes from, but they do have a good unit, but like it's not the best in the NFL. Though.
They have a good coaching staff too.
Yeah, they're jumping the gun on them a little bit. The talent is there, but Jamin Davis is not ready yet. Obviously, William Jackson is still up and down.
Mm-hmm.
Kendall Fuller, I love Fuller. I'm not gonna lie, and you still need to find that playmaking safety. Landon Collins is solid, but you still need that guy who can make you think twice about throwing in that zone. So, Evan, what do you want to touch on? What do you got, man?
Oh, hi, how's it going? Well, the one thing about saying like, we're not sure if Washington has a good defense or not. It's so interesting having an offense that's so much on one end of the spectrum by terms of it being good. Is that when you're this early into the season, like Washington's defense might actually be really good, but the fact is the Bills' offense is so good that it makes everyone's look terrible by comparison. So, and defense is so like, by terms of play to play every week, it has a lot more variance than offense, I would say. So maybe Washington still does have a really good defense, and we're just getting a little misguided by a couple games. Definitely wasn't this week though. I'll say that much.
I mean it wasn't. They got a 40-piece McNugget put on them.
On the Friday Night Forecast last week when we were making predictions, I guess that they would actually, or I think the line was like 44.5 or something like that. And I said, I think it'll barely go under. I think it'll be like 44. And then it turns out that like the Bills end up getting 43 just by themselves. It's like,
yeah, I mean, we should expect this. I mean, like I said, this as much capital we have invested in our receiving core specifically, and now our quarterback, we should expect 31 points a game.
Absolutely. There's no reason why they shouldn't be scraping teams like this every week. I'm not saying that they're just so much better on offense than most teams where they should be killing people like this. I don't know what in the world that was week 1. They were smelling themselves, and then Pittsburgh brought them back to life. But
It was hype. It was
yeah,
that. See,
I'm glad that they got the little trap game out the way. You said it, Jeremy. That was their trap game.
That was the trap game.
Yeah,
It's
that
not.
was
It's
their
not. It's
trap
not
game.
Houston. It's not Houston because I know Mud Dog would say the other day, "Hey, this is a trap game." I said, "No, we won the trap game. Houston gonna get stomped."
I would agree 100%, man. Houston better.
David
they better
Culley,
get a good night's sleep. Good
David
night's
Culley,
sleep.
welcome to being a head coach in NFL this week. If you haven't got a wake up call yet, they're gonna get it. And I feel bad for them. I like David Culley and those guys over there, but Buffalo's gonna smack them around. They're still angry. They're gonna stay angry until they play Kansas City Chiefs.
They should employ the same game plan they did against Washington. They need to play that same game plan. 30 rushing attempts. I need to see that against Kansas City because Kansas City defense is sorry right now. Yes, they give up the most yards in the NFL right now, but I want to see them beat Kansas City into a pulp. And they got a bunch of tape that they can go back and look to see. So I need that. I need to see that against Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. Kansas City is, and we talked about this before the season began. Kansas City is sitting at 1-2 right now, 1-2, and they have some continuity issues. You got a lot of new faces and familiar places over there, and it ain't looking too good. Like I said, it's one thing to try to upgrade, and we were having this argument off air about Tremaine Edmonds specifically, about sometimes you pay for that consistency and that continuity. And we've seen Kansas City consistently try to make upgrades. And I'm all for being aggressive now. I'm not going to say don't be aggressive because I don't think you settle. But some of the moves they've made is bringing in Joe Thuney. That was expensive. Bringing Orlando Brown. That was expensive. Switching D4 for Frank Clark, who you knew Frank Clark had character issues before you brought him in. Now that was expensive. He's not even playing. You know what I mean? It's a lot of stuff that they did, and it's questionable. And I don't want to see Buffalo make too many aggressive moves. I think there's a time and a place. Unless you're just going to do what the Bucs did, and the Bucs is totally different because you got Brady and you just brought everybody in that you could. That's different.
Yeah. But in Kansas City's defense, to bring this back to Buffalo, they went aggressive at positions that matter. I understand about continuity. Like I told you, if you're going to pay for continuity, I'm going to get behind that because it matters at this level. And you listen to players and coaches, they always talk about how continuity matters. Just look at the Saints. They always talk about continuity matters. But they went after high-level, high-value positions on the O-line after Patrick Mahomes got beat to a bloody pulp in the Super Bowl. And so you had no choice but to do that. And then it's your O-line. If you're going to go aggressive, that would be the spot to go aggressive at.
No, I get it, but if it doesn't work, then you just spent a whole lot of money and you just screwed your cap for the next 4 or 5 years, because that's a problem. There's going to be a problem at some point. But I don't know, James. What's your thoughts on that, man? What are your thoughts on kind of Kansas City? Because we got them coming up in a couple of weeks here, compared to the moves that they made, compared to the Bills move. Because I mean, obviously they have been the standard.
Yeah, see, I'm not a fan of going out and signing a bunch of free agents. I mean, I think they probably felt they needed to, especially on the offensive line after getting beat up in the Super Bowl. So, obviously they had a few injuries, so they wanted to move on from those tackles. So, I mean, they kind of had to. But you can get away with maybe a rookie or two on the offensive line if you draft one early enough that you think is ready. I mean, that's a position where you've seen guards be able to come in and play right away. Maybe you can get away with a right tackle being able to play as a rookie. Teams have gotten away with that. But, yeah, I mean, it's sometimes when you do that, it takes time to gel. And I think Kansas City is kind of going through that right now. So we'll see how they kind of respond to it. I mean, I think they'll be fine. I think people overreacting a little bit. They're going to just say they going to whoop somebody this week. Everybody going to forget that, they're 1-2 right now. So I think they hyping it up a little bit.
Anything on KC, Evan?
Well, one of the things I've noticed when I'm watching like Mahomes film over again is that he's just basically. I remember there was that phrase that sort of went around on Bill's Twitter a lot. I can't remember what personality said it, but arm arrogance I know was thrown around a lot. And there's some plays.
Benjamin Slowak said that some summer about Josh Allen. He got a lot of arm arrogance.
Yeah, and I'm watching Mahomes' film, and I'm like, this is exactly what it is. He's been able to And I mean, in past years, he's been able to, try these crazy throws because F it, I'm Patrick Mahomes. I can make those throws. And he's doing the same thing this year, but this year he's just been getting, a lot more. I don't even want to say unlucky because he sort of brings his own unluckiness. I don't know that it doesn't really make much sense, but like, for example, like on the, I'm sure a play that a lot of us have seen is the one where he's looking to the right side, throws across his body into the middle of the field, and then deflects off the receiver, gets picked off. People I think are overreacting to that play in particular because they're saying like, oh, there's no reason for him to, do a no look pass like that. But it's his eye movement that probably caused him to be that wide open. But there's some plays where it's like, okay, he's that open now. Just turn and throw it. You don't need to continue to be, Patrick Mahomes. Just be a normal quarterback for 1 second, and maybe you don't throw an interception.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, my man Ray Cruz checked in. He said that the podcast got caught by the trap talk looking at beyond Houston. No, I don't even think it's a trap game. I just think that this is a game that the Bills should win. And I think that they will come out, and I think they'll dominate Houston as well. And then the real test begins because you're gonna have KC going up, you're gonna have Tampa. We already dropped one. If we didn't drop that first one, the Steelers, I may say this Houston game would be a trap game.
Well, to be honest with you, JT, for this game, the one thing that kind of, I'm gonna say it worries me, the one thing I think about is Houston potential in the run game. I don't think they're going to beat us. No, I'm not saying that. I think we are going to come out. I think we're going to come out motivated. I think we're going to whoop them. But they can hang around with the run game if we're not on our A game on defense. The defense has shown that they ballers. They playing extremely well. Playing like a top 5 defense right now, maybe top 3. But I mean, these guys got some running backs. They get out there and they have some success running the ball. At the end of the day, let's not forget it's the NFL. They can't hang around. That's why we got to come out and we got to put them to bed real early, get them behind and make them have to throw the ball. Otherwise, if we don't execute, man, them dudes can run the ball, man, and they can kind of hang around a little bit.
Yeah, they got a lot of like savvy vets on their team. And so just like James said, they can just definitely hang around. So you definitely need to crush their spirits very, very early. Mark Ingram, Phillip Lindsay, David Johnson barely gets any run, but I don't view this as a trap game because they suffered a lot of injuries, and then they suffered an injury at quarterback, the most valuable position in all of sports. Davis Mills looked like a deer in headlights on Thursday night last night. Yeah. Could barely get any completions. He did get him in the end zone for a touchdown, but
he looked bad.
I like Carolina, huh?
He looked bad.
Yeah, he looked awful. Like Carolina's defense is good and is number 1 statistically, but I feel Buffalo's defense is better than Carolina's defense at this moment in time.
I gotta agree with that. Like I said, I got Buffalo. Whatever the spread's gonna be, I'll double it. I don't know. I mean, the spread. I think the spread is what 17 this week.
Yeah,
I'll take 30. You can give me 30, and I don't mean that in any disrespect to Houston, but we need to get back to that mind state that we had in the early 90s. And I don't like looking back to the 90s and stuff like that. I like to keep both teams separate. But that mindset back in the 90s was it didn't matter who was on the field. We was going to come out and we was going to beat the holy hell out of them by 30. It didn't matter because that's what the K-Gun did. That's what the Palace of Points is about. And yeah, we need to get, like you said, we need to get back to that. There's no reason to think that Buffalo can't come out and put 35 points or 40 points on this board almost every single week, depending on the defense you're playing. And I look across that field of Houston defense, and yeah, we should be putting 40 points on them this week, I believe. Too much time invested, too many weapons. So
absolutely.
We'll see. Oh, so Jake Nation asked a good question. Would anybody be worried if Tyrod was playing?
Yep.
I wouldn't be worried. I still think Buffalo win, but it'd be a different ball game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, certainly.
If Tyrod was playing, I wouldn't be saying by 30.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have a veteran to control the ball, control the clock, grind it out. We've seen Tyrod do that here in Buffalo for a couple of years here. So yeah, if Tyrod was playing, yeah, I would say a difference. I would say yeah. I wouldn't be worried. I still think this game Buffalo win, but I think the time of possession will be a little bit different.
Buffalo's going to win this game on talent alone. Period. They're going to win off talent alone. But to his question, Tyrod, like you said, he would definitely be able to manage the game better.
Right.
Manage it way better. make
Right.
the throws that need to be made, not going to push it down the field, not going to be flustered by the rush. All these things that we tend to overlook as fans, but that actually matter in a game, in a tightly contested game. He's not gonna lose the game for him. Davis Mills is gonna most certainly lose the game for them. Tyrod will not lose you the game.
Never has. But let's see. Next topic we're gonna talk about tonight. We're gonna go to we're gonna say the task one for last. We're gonna go to the who's shuffling the D-line this week. So obviously you guys heard Sean McDermott made some kind of comments this week. He was not too happy, it seemed like, with the defensive line play. Now, obviously, this week it was Harrison Phillips and F.A. Obata, along with Carlos Basham's time to be inactive again. And with his comments, I think that it may be somebody else's turns this week. So, James, I'm going to come to you first. A couple weeks ago, you were right on the money when you said F.A. Obata would be deactivated and Harrison Phillips. So, are we switching gears now?
So it's a little trickier for me. What I'm going to say is I think they're going to roll with the same exact unit this week to see what happens. If not, it's going to be some shuffling involved. I just don't think Harris. I'm thinking maybe Harrison Phillips to be up this week, but no, I'm gonna go on the side of no. I don't think this is a Harrison Phillips game. I don't think he's playing very well. I think he's more of a depth guy. He's there for if somebody gets hurt. I don't think he's going to be active too much more the rest of the season.
Harrison's last year in Buffalo?
Yeah. I think this is farewell tour. He's there just in case somebody gets hurt. I mean, he's more than serviceable. So I think that's what he's there for. I think he's gone. I thought about Vernon Butler, but I think they like his presence. If they stink it up, it'll be a swap for Vernon Butler and Harrison Phillips next week.
Yeah, I ain't got no comments on Vernon Butler, man. I ain't got no comment. I will say this though, on one move in that game, man, Mario Addison tried to hit a spin move, and he looked every bit of 34 years old. And I think it was Shreve or somebody just came over and just like threw him down to the ground. I mean, he felt like an old dude, man. he felt. I don't know if you guys saw that, man. He tried to hit the spin move, and he just came and got wiped out. And I was like, oh.
Right.
I mean, the lineman didn't even fall on him.
I've never seen Mario Addison though do a spin move in the game though. Like all this the tape I've watched him, I've never seen him do a spin though.
I saw it that game. It didn't well.
Well, speaking of farewell tours, Mario Addison and Jerry Hughes, they just the young boys took that over. Their playing time at the end of the year.
I called that there before the season. I said they should just let the young boys figure it out. That's exactly what they do.
That would have been a big time failure. You don't do that. You especially you got two veterans there that can play. You kind of ease them into it. You ease them into that role.
They didn't ease Russo. They didn't ease Russo in there. They was throwing him in coverage the first game.
That was because he did so well in the preseason. Then
he did. Yes, he earned it though. He definitely earned it.
He earned it, and then he played in the season. And a lot of times you see rookies do good in the preseason. You're like, okay, ain't doing so great. They're doing good. Then the season hits, and it's like the lights is on. They don't look as well. No, this dude, he's still bringing it. But the only thing I don't like is not seeing AJ Epinesa start. I think the dude has earned the starting role week in and week out. His snap count was kind of down a little bit this week, I thought too. He was actually lower than Jerry Hughes for snap percentage. I think Epinesa was like 21% or something like that. I don't like seeing that.
I think we're gonna get to the point. Yeah,
and Jerry had 32 snaps.
Where they'll be playing the veterans probably be playing 25% of the snaps when we get to week 13, 14, 15. I love Jerry Hughes, man. He's my guy, but it's the end of the line, man. It's the end of the line.
As boys to men say, end of the road, man. Hey, Brian Hughes says, I know the Bills won this week, but I'm worried about Cody Ford at right guard. I know Evan wants to touch on this one bad. He's itching over there. It seemed like every play Josh had the roll extend the play is because his guy was in the pocket.
Yeah, I do. I noticed that too. I was gonna ask y'all about that in the last segment. Like, how did y'all feel about Josh having to like extend the plays? Like, probably like 50% of that first half because Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen was tearing those guards apart.
Well, Evan taking this one?
Yeah. I swear, it was like every play. It seemed like he had to like duck that left shoulder down, step up, and then like roll to his right just a little bit. I think it came out that I think it was 12 pressures on 48 pass blocking snaps, something just ridiculously ludicrous like that. And especially at a guard position, you just can't have that. Because, if you're a tackle, guys come around you, you tend to get more pressures that way. But if you're just getting like bull rush back into the guy, like, no, it's not something that you can see at guard. And as good as Allen is rolling to his right, it's still not good mechanically, and you're going to eventually get those throws that might go a little bit over or get a little underthrown. So you have to be in a good situation where Allen can step up nice and cleanly into the pocket, deliver, and yeah, that's all there is to it. I agree. I'm totally out on Ford right now. The only problem is that we don't really have anyone else to put in there unless you want to give Butker a shot.
So you're saying Spencer Brown should start? That's what you're saying?
No, where you gonna put
No,
Spencer?
no,
Where you
no.
gonna put
him at
Brown?
guard. That's what it
He's
sounds
too
like.
tall. He's
No,
too tall
Spencer
to play
Brown.
guard.
Spencer Brown is too big to play guard, I think.
Well, that's the only alternative.
Well, that's not an alternative. He's like 6'8". That ball's gonna hit him in the head.
What's the other alternative then? Tell me what the other alternative is.
Ask Wyatt Teller to come back.
That's what. That's a problem. There isn't a good alternative right now. You have to. It's just Butker or
the alternative was Forrest Lamp, and that didn't end well. So that was your alternative. But hey, we're 20 minutes in, so you guys, everybody knows what time that is. That means if you've been watching the show the last couple of weeks, 20 minutes in means that it is time for bad takes. So we got 3 great bad takes of the week this week. Let's see what we got here. Bills fans always keep it interesting. Actually, I think we have a comment from a fan that's not a Bills fan this week. I'm pretty sure he's not. But like I said, we don't do names because Bills Mafia is a powerful force, and you guys will attack people. And I don't want you guys attacking people and put anybody through burning tables. So bad take number 1 this week. They did not play anyone. Let them play Brady and then see how good they are. You know what? That's actually not that bad.
That's not a bad take, though.
No,
that's not that bad of a take. But we won. Shut up. That's what it is. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We got.
It was just mistimed. It was just mistimed.
Let us live.
Yeah, I'd say it would make sense if I think it would actually be a reasonable take if they won each game by like a touchdown or something.
Right.
But
we have Brady
out
on the schedule coming up.
Yeah, right.
Like, leave it alone. All right, bad take number 2. He had, and this is in reference to Josh Allen, and he had 1 good game. He has had 2 crappy with 3 P's. I've never seen crappy with 3 P's, but we have now PPP personal loan. He has had 2 crappy games. Let's see if he can string a few games together before saying he's back. Okay.
I wouldn't go. He had 2. Yeah, he wouldn't have 2 crappy games. He had a crappy half against Miami and played better as the game progressed, and then he snapped against Washington. So I wouldn't go that's not a good take.
No, come on, dude. Like, give him, leave him alone. Leave him alone. All right, and then the final take, drum roll, please, James. This is a long one. Get ready. Bad take number 3. Laughing my ass off. Best teams in the AFC right now are the Raiders and Broncos. The Bills blanks lost to a very confused Steelers who couldn't even beat a high school squad right now. They beat up the practice squads of Miami and Washington. Allen is back to his flip-flopping self, doesn't know whether to throw for 500 yards or 400 or 150. Buffalo only has a good game lead over Miami and New England at this point. Pats has some issues on the line and red zone to fix, but we'll be right back in it. And Miami is overrated, like has been said since the offseason. Okay. So I'm assuming this person is a Patriot fan. I'm going to assume.
Where do we start on that one?
Okay, I guess we probably we probably have to start with okay, let's see. We'll have to start. Let's see where we're going to start out with this one.
If you're talking record-wise, I guess the Raiders and Broncos are the best teams in the AFC.
Yeah, but if you think the Raiders and the Broncos are the best teams in the AFC, then you have something wrong.
Like, logically, no.
I'm sold on the Raiders. I'm definitely not sold on the Broncos.
No, not the Broncos.
I'm not sold on the Raiders. I'm not sold on either one of them.
I'm not sold on the Raiders either.
The Raiders is not a very good coach. They're not a very good coach team. That's why.
I wouldn't agree with that.
John
but
Gruden is one of the most overrated coaches in the history of NFL.
You can't be overrated with a Super Bowl.
Yes, you can.
Say what you want. Say
Yes,
what
you
you
can.
want about he inherited a good team. You can't be overrated with a Super Bowl.
Yes,
We're
you
talking
can.
about the present, not what he's done. We're talking about the present, not what he's done.
Right. Yes, you can.
He beat a good Baltimore team. You like Baltimore, don't you? Not saying you're a Baltimore fan, James. You like Baltimore, don't you? That's one of your teams that you like, right?
In regards to
you like them as a team, like you like the team. Not actually you're a fan of them, but you like the team.
I like their running philosophy. I do, but in regards to being a threat, I don't think they're a threat.
And then they beat Miami right just now, and then they have another win. They beat Pittsburgh, a team the Buffalo lost to. So, those are 3 solid wins.
Outside that one Super Bowl win, what has John Gruden done? And mind you, I don't want to get too far off task, but he's supposed to be this quarterback guru, and he can't develop a quarterback. He's won with all
Derek
quarterbacks.
Carr's getting ready to win the MVP. What do you mean?
Derek Carr was thrown for 4,000 yards before him.
No, I agree. He was a good quarterback. There is no bigger Derek Carr fan than me. But I'm just saying, Gruden, they talked about it today. Gruden has facilitated that process. He doesn't suck as a coach. He's a pretty solid coach overall.
Solid,
listen,
but
that's like
10.
You said the Super Bowl argument. That's like saying Mike Shanahan was a good coach when he went to Washington just because he won the Super Bowl. It's not true.
So all that stuff just erases like he.
If we're talking player, what about player wise?
He's not a great coach. He's a solid. He's not bad, but he's not a great coach. He's overrated.
Out of all the coaches right now in the league, I'd say he was the top 10 coach right now.
Oh wow! I mean, you're bold. You're bold for that. Then you're very bold for that.
Out of the head coaches, I'd say he's top 10.
Yeah, you're very bold for that.
More like 8, 9, 10, but he's there. He's in there.
I think the Bills got two coaches in their staff better than him.
I'll go 1.
Brian Dable's probably gonna be better than him. I'm not a John Gruden fan. I mean, I know everybody loves the Chucky stuff and the Gruden camp and all that stuff, but that doesn't make him a great coach. He's got paid $100 million to go to Las Vegas, and this is the first year they're winning, and we don't even know if they're going to keep it up. I'm expecting to fall off at some point.
And see, the thing is,
very interesting to see Gruden develop a quarterback from scratch. I mean, Derek Carr is great, so I'm not saying they got rid of him or anything, of course, but it'd be interesting to see. And nowadays,
he won't do it. He won't do it.
I can't remember what video I was watching a while ago, but like it listed like all the different quarterbacks that Gruden had like praised essentially, and there was like Connor Cook, Brandon Weeden, Paxton Lynch, Nathan Peterman, Christian Hackenberg. It's like
he praised everybody. It was a good show. It was a good show. He made, if you were a quarterback, you on that show, your draft stock rose.
Yeah,
he made you look good. He really did.
Which is an interesting thought I've always had when it comes to Mayock as well, because it's like
that's the reason why Gruden getting a lot of this flack, because they've been stuck in that drafting, and they haven't.
He's part of that though. He helped bring Mayock.
I agree. He is part of that, but in terms of on-field stuff, in terms of scheming up plays, some of the situational stuff you could question, but for the most part,
not some, a lot of it.
I think especially he just had an overtime game that he called a great game, and then that Baltimore game he called a great game also with those 2 passes to Brian Edwards. He done call some good games now.
Okay, well we'll see at the finish line, because he has yet to finish there. Matter of fact, he hasn't finished in his last probably about 10 years of coaching.
This is probably the best team he's had since he's been the Raiders coach, though.
Well, if he didn't come in there and destroy the team that he had, then when he came in there, it maybe would have been a problem. I mean, he just, you don't just give away Amari Cooper, Khalil Mack. You just don't give those people away. And then you get draft picks, and you blow the draft. Then you blow the draft picks.
That's the main key, because it's like I understand them trading away like those players, because you want a fresh start, you want to rebuild.
Jeremy was the one who said they wasn't a good defense with Khalil Mack. So why not get rid of him?
Because there's no reason to. Because you just didn't want
to. Ain't no reason to keep him neither. It's not a horrible move.
It is now, because now you drafted Cleveland Farrell in the top 5.
Yeah, look at Max Crosby. In hindsight, yes, but
in the league currently right now.
They're lucky to have Max Crosby. If they didn't, they'd be in a world of hurt.
And Yannick Ngakoue is also a good pass rusher right now too.
Oh man, I'm done with the Yannick thing, man. I'm so sick of hearing Yannick.
Just saying, bro.
But we're moving on. We're going back to the tape, man. We're gonna talk about the Raiders. It's not a Raiders show. People gonna get mad.
Yes.
So the second part of this is you beat up on the high school squad. I mean, I'm assuming he's talking about the Steelers can be the high school squad and the Bengals. They have a lot of talent in Cincinnati. Then they goes to say they beat up the practice squads of Miami and Washington. Didn't know they were practice squad teams, whatever. But Allen is back to flip hopping ways. Doesn't even know if he wants to throw for 500 yards or 150 yards. Now the problem with that statement there is most quarterbacks can't throw for 500 yards. So if you are happen to be one of those, you must be doing pretty good. And then he goes on to say the Pats have some issues on the line and red zone to fix, and we'll be right back in it. No, you won't. No, Pats Nation, you won't be back in it. You're done. Your time is over. Your run is over. I said this last year. I'll say it again. Mac Jones looked flustered. Bill Belichick had to lead him off the field by his wrist the other day to not talk to people. Okay? It's over. Your run is over. You're not rebuilding. You just spent the most guaranteed money in free agency in the history of NFL, and you have Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, Hunter Henry, and Jonnu Smith to show for it. None of those players are leading you to the Super Bowl. And Tom Brady's going to walk back through that door. And this week, it ain't going to be on your side. So as long as he's not on your side, you're done. Like I said, Bill Belichick was smart at this point. He would wait for Joe Judge to get fired, and he would go to the Giants. As I said earlier in this year, he would go to the Giants and take over that team with the running back, with the offensive line that's being built, with the nasty front seven, and rebuild. Leave the Patriots mess to Josh McDaniels. That's it. But that was a horrible take, man. I mean, why do Patriot fans have to say, well, we did this? None of you Patriot fans even had starter jackets in the 90s. Never. I never saw a Patriot starter jacket.
Got a point there?
I can't remember any.
No. How many Patriot fans do you guys remember growing up?
One.
I may have two. So stop it. And mind you, I live in Connecticut. So I live in, well, I guess part of Patriot country. I mean, Connecticut is called Patriot country, but reality is Patriot country, it's Jets country, it's Giants country, it's whatever country you want to be in. And I've seen a whole bunch of Tampa Bay Brady jerseys. Just because Tom Brady was in New England for 20 years does not give you cannot be a partial Bucks fan. You cannot claim their Super Bowl. The run is over, man. Like I said, please. You've had your run, and it was an epic run. I'm not going to take anything from them. We'll probably never see that type of run in NFL again, especially in the age of free agency. But it's a wrap. Let us have our time. Enjoy your time at the bottom.
Do you honestly feel like the Giants are a better team than the Patriots right now?
If I'm Bill Belichick, I'm not going up against Josh Allen every year.
Okay, you brought that point in. I know you didn't think that.
I was going to say because
the Giants currently 0-3 is better than the Patriots.
Well, that's because their coach is awful. Just like
their offensive line is awful too. You
can fix that though, but I tell you what, you got a whole lot more to work with, in my opinion, in New York than you do in New England. I want you to think about that. When you start thinking about the age of these players, you got more to work with in New York going forward than you do in New England. And you have a lot easier division.
That too. I'm sure Belichick could just breathe on it.
Wait, hold up. You're saying that the NFC East is easier than the AFC East?
Yes.
So a division with Dak Prescott at quarterback, who's currently tearing the league up right now. And then Washington's still a solid team. I'll give you the Eagles, but they're second best or third.
Dallas is a mistake waiting to happen.
Yes, don't do that. No. Yes, they're winning currently. They're winning currently. Don't do that.
A division where most seasons all teams are losing. Yes, I am saying the NFC East is not as strong as the AFC East.
So the Eagles so the Jets are better than the Eagles?
Eagles are bad. Eagles aren't good. Okay, so the Jets is the only bad team in the AFC East.
And Miami good?
Miami's solid. They're not good. They're solid. They could be better if they would be loyal. Would you pick the Eagles to beat Miami and the Patriots right now?
I would pick the Eagles to beat Miami. I wouldn't pick them to beat the Patriots.
Would you pick the Giants?
The way that offense look?
With the way Eagles offense look? Listen.
The way their offense look and their defense didn't look too much better.
Y'all acting like Miami doesn't look great. I've been a big Miami fan too. Miami
will
look
look better with two. So when you watch that offense, right? And Miami just lost this game, barely lost this game to a now 3-0 Raider team. You're sleeping on them. They look a lot better with Tua. Now, could they be better off with a better quarterback? I think so. But with Tua, they're a playoff team. Or they're very close to contending.
Watson, man.
The Eagles are not contending for a playoff spot in a bad division. And honestly, Washington probably is not either.
The only reason Washington isn't contending is because their quarterback situation. That's the only reason.
But that's a part of the process.
And then
kind of like the biggest reason too.
No, and I'm getting to the Dolphins. The Dolphins quarterback situation and their O-line is awful too. The Dolphins O-line is.
So
that's why I throw a lot of quick
stuff. Tua's not awful.
I didn't say Tua was awful. I said their offensive line, their quarterback is not up to par for them to compete, and that's a fact.
I don't. But how can you say that? They just competed in the game Sunday versus a team that you said had a good coach.
I think they definitely have a great coach, but I don't. Bro, you can't tell me after looking at their O-line that they can compete, bro. You can have a good game. You could play up to the competition sometimes, but they don't have a quarterback or O-line to compete consistently.
To a team you just gave props to, they just did. That's what we're saying.
And you said that the Patriots is further along than the Eagles. Miami beat the Patriots week 1.
Bro, if y'all currently like how Miami looks when they played the Bills, I can't get with it. Yes, you're right. They did compete against the Raiders, but their offensive line is still bad. And they still have subpar quarterback play.
I understand that. But if you're asking me if I'm taking Miami over Philadelphia, then the answer is yes.
Who has a better quarterback and a better O-line?
Who's a better quarterback?
I think Jalen Hurts is better than Tua. I think so. I mean, especially now.
He ain't winning nothing.
They both ain't winning anything. I'm just saying.
Tua's won more than him.
Dude.
Tua's won more than him.
Does he have a better roster than
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, he does. That defense.
I will say that the Dolphins have won games in spite of Tua, not because of him.
Right. They don't definitely won games.
I'm so tired of the in spite of. This is a football game. Everybody on the field has a position. Unless you're a guard or a D tackle that's being hidden, you cannot hide a quarterback. It's not in spite of. If you cannot hide a middle linebacker, you cannot hide people on a football field.
James, how many quarterbacks you know been pulled mid-game more than once?
But that was
in the history of the NFL.
Wait a minute. But that was you can't blame Tua for something that was completely asinine. We had never seen that NFL in the first place. We've never seen an NFL coach say, well, this is our closer and switch the quarterback.
Well, that was they legitimately had a 2-quarterback system.
And he was a
2-quarterback system.
I will agree with y'all. That was weird. But
it was stupid.
As a baseball fan, they had Fitz close the games out for them.
They was playing so bad, bro, that they had to take him out mid-game. That has never ever happened. That does not happen, bro.
Because that's
unfortunately, there were games where he wasn't playing bad. They just wanted Fitz to close.
They were trying to make the playoffs, and I get it, but you shouldn't have put him in the first place. Then
I'll agree with that point.
Yeah, it was bad management.
And then he didn't know the plays or nothing like that. He's still trying to grasp the offense. I was a big Tua fan, bro, but I'm not hearing the stuff that I need to hear and see from him, bro.
Well, how could you? We've seen in this AFC East, we've seen what Buffalo has done with Josh Allen. We've brought him in and we've nurtured him. We've raised our team the right way. We've seen 2 other teams in this division completely botch their quarterback situations, and we're seeing the Jets do it all over again. We've seen Sam Darnold be botched. We've seen Tua be sabotaged. I mean, look
at Sam Darnold now. He looked good, man.
Yes,
he looked good in Carolina.
And look how Zach Wilson looked just like Sam Darnold looked. And so it takes a lot to really nurture a quarterback and to do it the right way. And I don't know if New England's doing the right way, Mac Jones. I think it is. I don't know what the whole weird pulling his arm thing was. I don't get that. But I'm just saying, like, when you compare the AFC East and NFC East, I'm like, and when I look at the NFC, I'm saying who's gonna be dragged to the finish line last. I'm not saying who's gonna step out front, who's gonna get dragged last, because that's what it's been for the last 7 years. Someone's gonna win the division at 9-8-1 or something like that. It's been that way. It has.
Yeah.
No,
What was last year 7-9? I'm trying to think.
Yes.
Yeah.
With a home playoff game.
Oh yeah, I remember there
Yeah,
was
Washington
there was
won
a big
under 500
deal
record.
about the with Doug Peterson like putting in Nate Sudfeld like for like the last quarter or whatever, and the Giants getting all pissy about it. It's like
Yeah,
if
he
you
threw it.
wanna make the playoffs, don't go 6-10. How about that?
Right, through the game. It's ridiculous. But we went off topic, but that was our bad takes for
Yeah.
the week. And we gotta get to our last
So much-
topic of
So much for nothing personal. It's just Bills.
right. I like to go off the cusp a little bit. It's a little fun. you know.
Yeah.
Football's football. But our last topic of the night is obviously you guys heard about the Hall of Fame ballots come out, and we have people running the campaign for Steve Tasker to make the Hall of Fame. A couple of names of the Bills are on there: Reuben Brown, Cornelius Bennett. Reuben is one I think is most deserving. Daryl Talley names on there, but we have to bring the question into play of: do you think that Steve Tasker belongs in the Hall of Fame? And I guess Evan, I'll start with you first. You know, I know you had some thoughts on Reuben Brown.
Yeah.
Someone who took thoughts on.
So when
Steve
it comes to
Tasker.
Tasker, I feel like there's a general sort of sentiment I find when it comes to the Hall of Fame that people have, where it's like if they've made a certain impact or changed the game in a certain way, they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. That's like the argument I hear for like Eli getting in, right?
Right.
He contributed to the history of the game. Whereas like someone like Tasker, he's like the best special teamer of all time. He's one of a kind. And the thing I like to bring up about him was the fact that he was so good that the league had to create an entire new rule to stop him from being so good. And I think that's pretty significant. Not like or not I wouldn't say significant, but it's a mark right there, right? And I honestly don't know. You might, I don't know. You'd have to ask special teams coordinators around the league. But I don't think there's been another player since Tasker where, as a special teams coach, you would go, okay, here's insert specific name of gunner here. We need to game plan for him, kind of thing. Maybe Matthew Slater. He's only
you have to
game
plan for Matthew Slater. You definitely
I would say Matthew Slater's probably the only other one. But everyone else is just going to be like, hey, they're gunner.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Jay?
It's a tricky one, y'all. This is a tricky one. I'm up in there about it. I hear what you're saying, Evan. I think about Matthew Slater. You know who else I think about too? Was a lead on special teams, and people don't give him enough love. It's Kevin Falk. Kevin Falk was a stud on special teams, and people don't give him enough props. I really researched his game when I was coming out in the draft, and people compared me to him because I played special teams, and I didn't realize how good he was on special teams. So I watched film and how much respect he had around the league. So it's very, very tricky for me. I love what Steve Tasker brought to the game. Obviously, he's one of the best special teams players ever. But, I mean, I think they should maybe look at creating certain categories for the Hall of Fame, and then he would fit in their special teams category. Just overall ballers and players. Unfortunately, I think he'll be on the outside looking in. I know Bills Mafia might get mad at me for that. But when you talk special teamers, you got to go Devin Hester's before him. It's a few others. So if you're just talking overall ballers, I think
what they have to call the category, though.
Huh?
That's what they have to call the category, though. The special category. They're called overall ballers.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's guys I feel is in the Hall of Fame now because of, I don't want to say sympathy, but, they just want to show them love for the, like you said, good guys, carried themselves well, was on a good team, and produced. And they fell into the right circumstances. Not taking nothing away from him. I think people looking at Steve Tasker that way as well. He was a hell of a player, a great player. But they look at he's on the 4 Super Bowl teams and was one of the ballers, and they think he should be in because he was one of the ballers on that team. I don't think that's necessarily true that he should be in. So it's tricky. I wouldn't be mad either way.
Yeah, I kind of am on the same wave that James is. Like I said, as we know, Steve Tasker was a great special teamer. I don't have an issue with special teamers. It's just you gotta think about who's actually affecting the game, and he did affect the game. He affected field position, so that is affecting, an aspect of the game. But when you think about it, it's just like, does Steve Tasker deserve to be mentioned in the same breath as Deion Sanders or Ray Lewis or Lawrence Taylor? Some guys like that. Like James was saying, like there's other guys who deserve to be ahead of him, and then like there should be no way that Steve Tasker gets in before Devin Hester gets in or Dante Hall gets in. Like guys like that, guys who putting points up on the board. That special team in that gunner position is very important. The Bills actually have been one of the better special teams
for the last 30 years.
History. Yeah. And currently.
Yeah.
So
Bruce David, Bobby April.
Known for their special teams.
Great coaches.
I just feel like there's other players that should be in before him, and I may be on the Evan category, on the Evan side of like maybe we should have a special category for these guys, because I remember a couple years ago they had an issue putting Ray Guy from the Raiders, the punter, in to the Hall of Fame too. So maybe we should have a special Hall of Fame category for special teamers.
Well, I personally feel like, or just to add something, I personally feel like even the Hall of Fame itself is a bit too inclusive. I think players even need to be better and better to get in.
Yeah,
the Hall.
I agree. I agree 100%.
Like, even though we're debating whether to have Tasker in the Hall of Fame, like I'm debating whether he should be in this Hall of Fame. I don't think it should be a debate as to whether he's in the Hall of Fame. Like, we shouldn't be even considering Tasker, I don't think. Like, it needs to be saved for the very best of the best. Your Tom Brady's, Peyton Manning's, Lawrence Taylor's, Reggie White's, like those kind of guys. And as much as I hate to give credit to the guy, I very much like his philosophy when it comes to Hall of Fame voting. Skip Bayless. He basically has the philosophy of, if you have to think about whether he belongs in the Hall of Fame, he doesn't.
Not a Hall of Famer. Yep.
Yeah. If you're a Hall of Famer, you're in. That's
all right.
Yeah.
So a lot of Bills Mafia is not gonna be happy with this.
No.
I don't think there's a chance in hell that Steve Tasker should be in the NFL Hall of Fame. I mean, I'm not saying it's a joke. I don't feel like there's any world that Steve Tasker should be in the NFL Hall of Fame. There's nothing against Steve, but I understand people say he changed the game. But how much would he have changed the game if he was playing with the Jets all those years? Would we have cared? We wouldn't have. Just like we don't talk about Matthew Slater. Matthew Slater has been a special teams player, our top special team player for a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't talk about it because we had Tom Brady to talk about, right? The NBA Hall of Fame is getting to the point where any and everybody's getting in. And this is why I don't like that subdivision thing or special categories. Because now in the NBA Hall of Fame, you have the international part of the Hall of Fame, where now you're letting Yao Ming in, and now you're letting Tony Kukoc in, and you're letting guys in who were role players or side players who had shortened careers in because they were ambassadors of the game. No, the Hall of Fame is supposed to be for the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Very Good, not the Hall of very a lot of fans. That's not what it's for. Steve Tasker doesn't even have the most punt blocks in history of the NFL. And I'm just being realistic about it. Let's look at the stats. In the numbers, I understand he played receiver. He wasn't a very good receiver. He was okay. I know they say, well, he could have played receiver more. Yeah, I hear you. Whatever. He didn't. I understand that. I know. I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but it gets under my skin when I hear this. When there's a guy named Reuben Brown who went to 8 straight Pro Bowls out of 9. And went to Pro Bowls with 2 different teams that had 5 All-Pros or 6 All-Pros. And we're talking about Steve Tasker when this guy was in the trenches and his snap count was up there in about 99% on one side of the ball. I'm being realistic here. Why? Steve Tasker is the most glorified special teams player probably in the history of this game. He's on the Bills Wall of Fame. He's still employed by the Bills. He's loved by the fans. That's as far as it goes. That's it. That's where it's cut off because most special teams players are not. And my problem is if you let Steve Tasker in, how many more special teamers are you going to let in? Now, Do we have to let Brian Mitchell in? He had about 20,000 return yards throughout his career. Do we have to let Dante Hall in? Because now he's in the conversation. And it no longer it takes the luster of what the Hall of Fame is supposed to be away completely. I understand. Yes, Steve Tasker is probably the best special teams player to ever play the game. You're absolutely right. Doesn't mean he belongs in the Hall of Fame. Just means that when we make these little videos that say best special teams player all the time, he goes number one. Congratulations. Good job, Steve. We love you. But that's as far as it goes.
Something else to add. I really wish that the NFL Hall of Fame was a lot more like the Baseball Hall of Fame, where there's some years where I don't know if you guys are familiar with the voting process.
Yeah, where nobody gets in because those old dudes are crotchety.
No, but I actually like the fact that there's some years where it's like nobody gets in or one person or one person gets in because it makes it so much more exclusive.
Yeah, I get it, but I kind of don't like that process either because those old men are crotchety.
Oh, the voters are.
I hate the fact that sports writers vote on the Hall of Fame and not actual players vote on the Hall of Fame.
Well, no, in the baseball, it's the player. A lot of it's
baseball,
the player.
Okay, I did not familiar with baseball.
Yeah, the players are voting because this person tested positive for steroids. Like, listen, dude. I understand that they didn't grow up playing the game with a wiffle ball and some sugar cane balls or something like that in the field, like you did, so they weren't great at hitting. But steroids saved the game of baseball. I don't care what you want to say. People hitting home runs, they got people in the seats because you went on strike 3 times. But I don't want to go too far off task. But my thing is, no, I don't believe Steve Tasker belongs in the NFL Hall of Fame. And he didn't change games. What games did he change? He played on a team that went to 4 straight Super Bowls. There was not a lot of games that Steve Tasker had to change.
He was an elite special teams player for sure. Let me ask y'all a question. Do y'all realize how good Taiwan Jones is as a gunner? Like, seriously,
talk about him now.
Do people realize how good he is as a gunner? Like, I
no,
don't
they
think
don't
y'all understand how good that dude is as a gunner. That dude is elite. He's an elite gunner. He's going to play as long as he wants because he's an elite gunner. Just keep that in mind too. That dude's a baller. When you talking about with Steve Tasker, dude, Taiwan Jones might do it better.
But that's the problem. That's the problem I'm having. Is you're saying to put Steve in, not you specifically. People are saying put Steve in because he did it first. So that means you're gonna put him in because he did it first, but then you're not gonna put the 20, 30 people that came after him as a Taiwan Joe. When Saran Neal leaves this game of football, the trajectory he's going to be one of the best gunners to ever play the game. And if you don't believe me, go turn Saran Neal film on.
All jokes aside, people need to look into this. We may have the best gunner combo in NFL history right now.
Yeah.
Those two. Yeah. People, it may sound crazy with me saying it, but if you look at those two gunners, you might not find two that's what they do. That might be the best combo in history.
I mean, that's not too far-fetched though, because Saran Neal, like I was saying last week, when he came out, they were saying he was literally one of the most athletic players to ever come out in the draft. So that's not far-fetched. And Taiwan Jones, we know how fast he is. Like, we know how fast he can get down the field and get those tackles. So he was the only player.
He was the only one of the only players I ever remember in NFL history. I remember he's a small school running back like myself. He came out as a running back, speed back. He changed to DB with the Raiders, played it for 2 seasons, then went back to running back. Who does that in the NFL?
And of course, he changes back to running back just to catch the pass that sinks us in that one wild card.
I know,
game.
Right? All right, Lone Wolf says it's easy to see why every time I check in, there's single-digit chat people in the chat. JTM, your attitude sucks, and God forbid if someone doesn't agree with you.
What is going on with that? Wow.
Hey, what's the name of the podcast again?
It's nothing personal, just Bills, hosted by JTM.
Yo, what was?
Listen, you don't have to agree. Right. I don't personally attacked anybody, but that's fine. Hey, thanks for watching.
No, this is how it works. Don't you know if you hold any negative opinion on the Bills, that means you're a Bills hater?
Right.
No one knows that more than me, Evan. You know that.
And okay, both of us for sure. Yeah.
Man, my attitude sucks, he said.
Where did that come from? Man?
I know, right?
You went pretty mild, honestly.
Yeah, I just gave my opinion on it. I didn't say you guys' opinion was wrong. I just said what my opinion was.
Like, if you said that Tasker doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame because I met him once at a grocery store and he was an asshole to me, that would make sense. But
Yeah, that ain't got nothing to do with it for me. It's just the fact that I'm wondering if you put him in what the remnant's going to be later. How many more people are you going to have to include now? Because you're going to give a lot more people arguments to say, hey, and that's what I say. I'm not necessarily on board with Devin Hester getting on either for that reason alone as well. I love Devin Hester, and I understand that Devin Hester changed the game. Now, I would say Devin Hester affected a football game more than Steve Tasker affected the football game.
Of course, he put points on the board. Of course,
he put points on the board. Exactly. But if you put him
that
in,
guy might have to go in.
He might, because
Definitely.
there were teams you couldn't kick to him.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as Ruben Brown goes, I know my man Ray Cruz says a statement, says Robert Brown, consider those in his position during his tenure dry spell. But let me explain something about Ruben Brown I looked up. So Steve Hutchinson is in. He played in the same era as Ruben. Steve Hutchinson, 6 All-Pros, 5 Pro Bowls. Ruben Brown, 9 Pro Bowls, 6 All-Pros. Our other man, I looked up the other day. Damn, who was it? It was the other guard, Alan Faneca.
I was just about to say, isn't Alan Faneca and Will Shields from the Kansas City Chiefs is in too? I believe.
I think so. Yeah.
Alan Faneca's in. Less Pro Bowls, less All-Pros than Ruben Brown. But end of the day, like I said, you can't take anything away from Ruben because he was making All-Pro over these guys while playing at the same time as them. And then he went to the Bears and did it again.
This went All-Pro. And Pro Bowls actually meant something. It wasn't just letting nobody, everybody in, letting the fans vote for people in too. This was when you actually had to be nice to be a Pro Bowler and an All-Pro.
Right. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say Steve Hutchinson is a better guard than him. A lot of people say Alan Faneca is a better guard than him. But unfortunately, we're going off numbers, right? Because that's what we go off by the Hall of Fame. We go off by numbers a lot of times. The numbers say Ruben was better. He got more All-Pros and Pro Bowls. I don't know. Just saying that those guys around, I think you got to put him in. So, I mean, if I had to pick one of those guys off that list, Ruben Brown would be my guy. I think Cornelius Bennett falls just short. I'm a no on Tasker. I wish Eric Moles had a couple more years. If Eric Moles got to 1,100 yards, 11,000, I think he'd have been there.
If Eric Moles plays with better quarterbacks, like he's like a shoe-in, honestly, I think. But the fact that he was able to do what he did with like just terrible quarterbacks is incredible.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all know Rob Johnson was nice, man. Stop it.
But I mean, Eric got off to a slow start in his career too. Like I've personally talked to Eric before, and he just said he got off to a slow start, just not training the right way. Not necessarily not training, just not training the right way. Eric took off when he started training with Jerry Rice. I don't know if a lot of people know that. That's when his career took off. Yeah, he started training with Jerry Rice, and that's when Eric's career really took off. But they give you a little funny story. I one time I asked Eric, I said, "How did you and Doug Flutie connect so well?" Because I was wanted to know that. I was a big Doug Flutie fan. I was a short kid. So all short kids are Doug Flutie fans. He said him and Doug connected playing pickup basketball. Doug threw an alley to him. He jumped up and dunked it. And Flutie said, "What's your vertical?" Eric said 41 inches. Doug said, "Anytime you 1-on-1 or 2, I don't care. I'm throwing it up there." And that's how the connection was formed. Little tidbit there, Not everybody hates me. At least not Eric Moles. But no, guys, it was an interesting show. It was an interesting show. We went off the cusp. We went and talked about NFC East. We talked a little about the AFC East. We argued, we banter, talked about the Hall of Fame. It was good. It made me feel better. Like I said, I was under the weather tonight. But I said I want to thank you guys for coming on tonight. We got a couple announcements that's going to be coming up. Guys, stay tuned for our Batavia Downs autograph signing is going to be coming back up. They're going to have Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed. I believe Jim Kelly will be there. Joe DeLama will be there on a Friday. I think October. Let me look at my calendar here. October 30th. No, 29th. And then on the 30th, I think it's going to be like Stevie Johnson, Eric Moles, Rod Guidry, Sean Waltman, X-Pac, 123 Kid if you go back, way back in WWF wrestling. Boogie Bash was going to be there signing autographs. So you guys want to make sure that we'll be making announcements for that. And as always, man, thank you guys for joining the show. And Cody Wells want the nothing personal tidbit. Yeah, it was a Tasker. I think it was my nothing personal today. It was Steve Tasker. Yeah, nothing personal. I just don't believe he belongs in. That's all. Great player. And my man Cody, I didn't answer his question. He said, "Do you think that the Gunners pitch would be the same right now without people watching and learning from Tasker? No, I don't. I give him credit for that for sure. Definitely changed the way the position played. That's for sure. Everybody wanted to find a Steve Tasker. And not that people didn't play it that way. I think coaches and GMs looked for different type of players because there was multiple Steve Taskers out in the world. It's just that in the 90s when nobody looked for Steve Taskers in their roster because they wasn't using the roster spot for it. I think that's an interesting point.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got to have those type players. So I don't know, man. Hey, guys, James, EJ, Evan, thank you guys for joining me tonight. And we'll come back here next Tuesday, hopefully after another Bills win. And we'll argue some more. All right. Everybody have a good night, man. And thanks always. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you tune on to the rest of the shows of Cold Front Report. Friday, Evan and Travis will be on the Friday night forecast. Saturday will be.
I'm away.
You're away?
Yeah.
Oh, Evan won't be there.
Yeah.
But
Because I know how much of the main attraction I am.
Yeah, man. Ladies going crazy over you, man. That's what they come for. The zinger.
The zinger. The zing.
So, well, yeah, make sure you catch them on Friday. Then Clayton and Mookie Hawkins for the Saturday night tailgate Saturday, and then be here for Sunday for the post game show. Other than that, go Bills. Stay tuned. Make sure you're checking www.coldfrontreport.com. Catch you guys later.